guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to Raid Lore Stories. Today we're going to read the Raid Shadow Legends lore story for the new mythic demon spawn, Komidus Darksmile. So he looks really interesting, right? He's got like these little like demon wings going on. Let's see what his mythic Super Saiyan form looks like. Well, that's interesting. He kind of looks like a demon clown in some ways, right? What do you guys think? I like the fiery wings. But they look painful. Wow, they look really painful. And I gotta say, like, the green hair reminds me of like the Joker or something. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what to think right now with this, but what I am hoping is that the lore story explains the transformation. So let's read it together. Murderous performers not unheard of in Teleria, Gaius the Gleeful, Timid the Fool, and Kaja the Wry are but the three. The true star of the show, however, is Komidus, demon spawn prince of comedy and tragedy. He is a fickle and temperamental overlord whose performances leave audiences splattered with blood and gripped with terror. Komidus was not always a homicidal dramaturgist. He was once a Gormzel, an Ogren, who worked with a company of traveling comedic actors as a porter, transporting heavy trunks and setting up and taking apart the stage. He longed to act with the troupe, jealous of the laughter and admiration they received, but they kept him out of the spotlight, deriding him as slow-witted and graceless. He proved them humiliatingly right the one time he took to the stage, freezing in terror and capable of even stammering out his single line. Though Gormzel resented this, he never wished for the terrible fate his troupe eventually suffered. One late night in Carrick's countryside, the party was packing up after a show well done. A hooded figure approached them, asking if they might perform for her. They told her they had finished, but when she shook a bag heavy with coin, they changed their tune. Within seconds, the figure drew a clawed finger and opened a portal to Enathrad, and all were sucked in. They found themselves on a stage of volcanic rock, the smell of sulfur scratching the back of their throats and making their eyes water. The figure coughed expectantly. By this time, she had removed her hood, revealing a face with 8 black eyes and a tree of circular mouths with rings of teeth. The troupe were to perform. Shaking and crying, they all tried except Gormzel. No one brought so much as a sniff of pleasure to the captor, who killed and ate them all. She then peered into Gormzel's heart and saw his anger and desire. She laughed with diabolical glee, seeing a future star, and decided to make Gormzel the performer he always wanted to be. She summoned a demon called Komidus, a pet of hers with a flair for drama. He bonded with Gormzel, turning the Ogren into a historic, egotistical, melodramatic diva of a demon spawn. Gormzel abandoned his old name and returned to Teleria to spread mayhem and mischief as Komidus. He has done so with aplomb for centuries. Komidus has 2 forms he switches between on a whim, both equally dangerous and impossible to reason with. When he dons his blood-red mask, he embodies tragedy, melancholy, and high drama. He performs elaborate monologues, his vocabulary obtuse, his lines layered with esoteric allegory. These can last days, sapping listeners of strength and locking them into escapable grief. Komidus demonstrates his themes with gruesome performance art using captured mortals. He might force them to murder or torture one another, or do it himself, amputating their forelimbs and force them to hobble like horses, or suturing braggarts' own buttocks to their mouths. When Komidus tears off his mask, he reveals a massive, toothy grin. He then casts off his robes, and in a flash of demonic energy, his body grows in bulk and musculature, with blazing wings sprouting from his back and his crimson horns expanding to their full menacing size. In this form, he is the essence of manic comedy and feverish madness. He discards his morose tone, rendering it deeper, boisterous, and guttural. Filthy and ribald humor pours from his frothing lips, his prodigious belly wobbles, and his volatile, gory antics fly by at frantic pace. Komidus believes his performances would be nothing without spectators, and only the most debauched and jaded souls willingly attend his circus of horrors. To fill the seats, Komidus abducts unsuspecting victims and makes them a literal captive audience. He lashes them to chairs with thorny vines or impales them on hooks and raises them like chandeliers. Victims have their heads fixed in crushing vices, their eyelids cut off, or both, to ensure he commands their undivided attention. If any audience members seem insufficiently enthused, Komidus magically puppeteers them via his flaming torture prisms, force them to clap and cheer until their hands are bloody, fractured lumps, and the throat seizes shut. The fortunate ones perish relatively quickly from the trauma of the restraint or, after being dragged to the stage, to serve as a fleshy prop for one of Komidus's acts. Most are driven insane, finally willingly laughing along with his jokes or sobbing uncontrollably at his tragic soliloquies. Their faces contort correspondingly into rictus grins or mourning frowns. These survivors delight Komidus. Together they form a worshipful, sycophantic trope of perverse merrymakers who scour the countryside to invite more privileged souls to Komidus's performances. Legend has it that Komidus once came across the blood-thirsty jesters Tim and Kaja, who at first glance were kindred spirits. But Komidus, being the prima donna he is, insisted they bow to him as their troop master and acknowledge his superior talents. They refused. Komidus demanded the matter be settled with a contest of skills, and lasted weeks and terrorized swaths of Anhel. Whole villages were overrun and used as set pieces for gory theatrics. Townsfolk returned from horrified audiences to eviscerated performers in the fancy of the three deranged comedians. In the final contest, Komidus acted as a maestro, conducting a captive choir and an orchestra, who played instruments made of their own flesh and bone. Together they played notes so low, their bowels emptied, and, in a grand finale, so high their heads exploded. Kaj and Timmit responded with a dance and tumbling routine carried out over a carpet of bound and gagged villagers, the crunching of bones and muffled screams forming their accompanying musical score. Neither side admitted defeat, but both parties agreed it had been a laugh riot. They vowed to meet again to settle their score and have more bloody fun, but this time before much larger audiences. Well, okay, I would love to know what you guys think of this story. So, I guess I was spot on by saying he kind of looks like the Joker. So they did. They basically made him like this horrible, demonic clown. And I have to say, guys, this story fits something I probably would have seen around like Halloween time. It was a bit descriptive, I think is probably the right word, but it explains this. So I would love to know what you guys think for the lore story for Komidus. Is it what you were thinking? I'm actually not surprised now. After reading this, I think it fits really, really well. And it's probably one of the most, it's maybe gruesome stories I think I've read or I've probably seen in a while. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.